Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation of anonymity and how it affects us in the world. My name is Simone Faez, and I will be going through lots of different ideas about anonymity. First, I will be defining anonymity for the everyday person, and I'll explain what it really means, and I will link that to our First Amendment right and how we can try to protect ourselves online. Protecting ourselves online today is a huge concern now, especially with hacktivist groups like Anonymous who prey on large corporations, and that in turn affects us because we all use large corporations whether we like it or not. This is not to say that all corporations are bad, but we'll discuss this at a later time in the slides. I'll also talk about an affiliation with a popular website that has a huge influence with the activist group known as Anonymous, and as well as the concerns of anonymity to the everyday user, so to students, to parents, to children, to basically anyone, because it really affects not only adults who are aware of it, but it really affects students and children too. This will lead us into our talk about the advantages and disadvantages of anonymity, and finally we'll be able to wrap things up with a nice, good old conclusion. To introduce anonymity, we define it as a person who is not identified by name or of unknown name. Purely based on the definition, you can see how powerful something like this could potentially be. You are essentially assigning yourself a new life with new ethics, new morals, a new voice, new thoughts, all from the safety of your own home. It didn't even have to be your own home. It could be your friend's house, it could be a cafe, local bar, it could be on your phone, anywhere you have access to the internet. This powerful tool of anonymity is a double-edged sword. And what I mean by that is as much help as it offers you to stay anonymous online so you won't be seen by other people, it offers the same amount of detriment to you as well. Your online name, even though it's anonymous, is still technically you. Everyone will associate that account with you, regardless if it's really you, the person that you are in real life, or the person that you're portraying yourself as online. These detriments to your online name is what we would want protected by our First Amendment rights. Maybe you accidentally posted a harsh reaction to something personal on maybe a topic on Facebook, and it got way out of hand. People, for the most part, on Facebook are themselves, with the exception of some fake accounts. This non anonymous culture that's on Facebook that allows you to communicate with your friends you otherwise wouldn't have been able to opens up a lot of personal information about yourself that people who aren't your friends or are actually still anonymous, unlike you on Facebook, can get a hold of. The globe, however, is not under the First Amendment right. So if you live in the United States, you have your First Amendment right, but if you live in other parts of the country, your First Amendment right isn't really going to help you. So you should always try to be careful with what you say on the internet if you aren't anonymous, and even if you are anonymous, because it always comes back to always being you as the one singular person, regardless if it's you, the person that you're portraying to be, or you as in you. Speaking anonymously with users from all around the world on topics that are current, many use 4chan as their source to give their opinions as well as their factual information. 4chan is a bulletin-based image forum where you can post and communicate images and responses anonymously. This website has been popularized by the use of hacktivist group Anonymous to communicate with one another. The service allows lots of freedom. It creates a space where individuals can plan events within hours, and the entire post can be removed from existence if there's enough replies or new posts. The popularization of this website has become more widespread, with the website having its own communities within other websites such as Reddit or Imgur. This website 4chan has also shown how powerful its capabilities can be, such as finding Shia LaBeouf's charity stream, which he hid, by watching the star configurations on the Earth and flight patterns around the stream. Hacktivist group Anonymous, while trying to remain as the only just cause in all their efforts, have thousands of members who share different opinions. With this many opinions, there are going to be lots of projects that everyone will not agree on. Not everything they do as a group also will be seen as good or bad. For example, in 2009 they assisted in the electoral protests in Iran that helped civilians fight their cause. However, a year earlier they were found attacking Sarah Palin's email account during the 2008 election year, and by no means was that by one person. This singular event had hundreds of users log into her email and change the password. Anonymous also supported the protests of Occupy Wall Street, which helped prove that there is a real discourse in economic inequality as well as a lack of a real democracy in America. While some fights are good, they are also responsible for the DDoS attacks, denial of service, on Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal, which are heavily used in today's world just to do basic things such as pay for your food and gas. The main concern of anonymity is being able to protect yourself online regardless of what's happening. Having an opinion that may cause a lot of discourse in other individuals is generally not a good idea. However, when you're protected by anonymity and want to discuss a topic that's controversial, such as abortion, there really is no way to get around it without just saying it outright. While you may be saying something that you want to believe is true, there are thousands of others that will probably be willing to argue against your point. And that's just the way the internet rolls. As a student in this technological era, just being on Reddit, you can see the amount of power anonymity really has. There are accounts based literally on attacking groups of people just because they can do it anonymously. This idea, while not exclusive to Reddit, is cyberbullying. Students of all ages, especially middle school students, are susceptible to this happening. While students are probably the easiest to sway/trick, that is not to say that adults or parents are not also targeted. In this world of anonymity, people will blackmail you for anything, and they will do so completely protected. Blackmailing is one of the worst offenders for the case of pro-anonymity because it gives all the power to the blackmailer and nothing to the victim. The advantages and disadvantages of anonymity. Pros: self-protection. It's basically pretty self-explanatory. Things that you will say go straight back to your anonymous tag rather than you in your real life, so you're self-protected. Freedom of speech also goes hand with self-protection. It's just all through speech and text. Your First Amendment right protects you with your freedom of speech, so you can technically say anything you want and it'll always be under your anonymous tag rather than your normal tag, assuming you're staying safe. It's also easier to be yourself, so you can say what you want without having to worry about the backlash. Like someone on your Facebook won't be able to say something if you say something anonymously on Reddit or on Imager or on Twitch or something. Absence of judgment. People will give you a pass, generally, if you are good looking, you're a good speaker, you're confident, regardless of your opinion. However, if you're ugly, no chance. Fat, no chance. You'll generally be condemned before you can speak. This is why anonymity is also very powerful. Testing the waters. It is much easier to talk about a topic you don't know when the people won't berate you for not knowing it when you're anonymous. So just going into a topic head first without really knowing about it and asking questions is much easier as someone who you don't have to protect, really, because you don't really need to protect your anonymous self. It's already protected. Whistleblowers and witnesses. These people are very specific situations where you could be with the mob or something, very, very specific situations, but these people are much safer where they can just go online and anonymously report the crime. So if you witness a crime, there's also like Crime Stoppers or like 1-800-TIPS or something like that, where you can voice what you saw without having to give like your personal name and stuff like that. Maybe there's corrupt police and they find out that you know what's happening. So it's just a way to really keep yourself safe. Cons and the disadvantages. Hate crimes. People will not care if their anonymous account is seen as a complete racist. People will really not care about anything. If it's sexist, racist, white supremacist, anything like that. They will literally say whatever they want because they're completely protected. Scams. In the real world, people don't know who you are and take your money. What's stopping them from doing that online, too? So if they don't know who you are, you don't know who they are, they don't care. They just want your money. That's the only thing that hasn't changed, right? Your sources may not be trustworthy. Even if your source is on the topic you are writing and all of it makes sense, that does not make the source true. That could just be a heavily opinionated, technically a source, but it isn't really a source. There's also no repercussion for voicing your words, the magnum opus of anonymity. You can say whatever you want, protected under your anonymous name. This is what really sets in anonymity as a whole. Your true self isn't tied to a real person. This is something that we talked about a little bit earlier, but you can have all your same opinions but claim to be a completely different person. And as tiny as that sounds, that's pretty, in my opinion, it's a pretty big deal because you can pretty much advertise yourself as one person and just have completely different views on every topic. Our rights are anonymously protected under the names we designate and are protected by our First Amendment rights. In conclusion, as we discussed in the previous slide, there are many advantages and disadvantages to anonymity, such as freedom of speech, being yourself, absence of judgment, testing the waters, being a witness in a crime, hate crimes, scams. There's also no repercussions. Respectively, this is all advantages and disadvantages. This leads us back into the idea of the hacktivist group Anonymous. Whether you think they're good or bad, anonymity intended, they are using their basic rights as humans to voice their concerns about the world. These concerns have been voiced for almost a decade through the website known as 4chan. This brings me to the end of my presentation. Hope you guys learned something, and I hope everyone has a great day. Goodbye.